According to the Aid Worker Security Database, in the last 10 years, 235 UN humanitarian workers have been killed in attacks. That doesn't include peacekeeping, it doesn't include those in natural disasters, it doesn't include those working on human rights. And it's a very large number, and it's 235, in our opinion, 235 too many. Now, Peter Maurer earlier inside said that there isn't any humanitarian attack without, there isn't any humanitarian action, without humanitarian workers. And it's important and right that we honor those who die, and this ceremony here is very fitting. I think it means a lot for the families and the survivors, and it means a lot to humanitarian workers around the world. But we can't stop here. The organization that we work for also needs to change how it works. We've moved beyond an era where warring parties, rebels, and other groups would respect the UN flag. These days they don't. The UN is a strategic target for, among others, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, and many other groups. And unfortunately, because of that, many things need to change. Our organization needs to do more to keep in touch with the families and with the survivors. There's a lot that needs to be done on that, as we discovered last year. It needs to put in place a policy to be able to transfer victims of attacks out of where they're working and to a safer location. At the moment, those staff who are the victims of attacks and who survive must return to the office more or less the next day and continue with their work in the same place where their colleagues died. Because of a General Assembly resolution, the UN cannot move workers out of those places into a safer location. So that needs to change as well. And I think we also need to, the organization needs to give families a fair and honest answer on why a spouse, a parent, a son, or a daughter died, who killed them, and what's going to be done about it as well. What action will be taken? And organizations, we feel, should also treat all those who die under the UN flag in the same way, whether they're staff or consultants. We shouldn't have a situation where the families of a consultant should have to pay to fly the coffin of their loved one back home. Now, there also, apart from that, needs to be a much bigger conversation. Now, Antonio Guterres said earlier that the demand for humanitarian action is on the increase, and that's going to be even more the case with the Sustainable Development Goals, as we heard earlier. And the UN is going to be playing a huge role on this in the future, whether on conflict, natural hazards, Ms. Wallström referred to, epidemics, or the consequences of economic inequality. At the same time, the places in which we're called to go and work are getting ever more dangerous than they were before. Ensuring the security of our staff in this environment will come at an important cost. And that cost will take a share of the scarce resources. But this is an inconvenient truth. But it is a price that will have to be paid, and we believe it is a price worth paying. And we hope that member states will have a discussion at the World Humanitarian Summit to discuss the costs of providing safety to colleagues, because we cannot send our colleagues into harm's way if we cannot afford to protect them. Our humanitarian colleagues want to discharge their organization's work on the ground and help those in need. But we also owe it to them and their families and the memories of died and the survivors to do our best to make sure that they can work safely. Thank you.